Hello, happy new calendar year. I'm going to continue on with another video on Alice A. Bailey's book, Esoteric Psychology. For this video, I'm going to actually put up the publisher's version of the book so you can follow along with it that way, along with a couple of other, um, I guess you could say, accompaniments. All right, so there's that, got that going. Again, so this is just basically Lucius Trust, so the publisher of the books, and you can just follow along here. Or yeah, the hard copy. The cool thing about the website is that you can actually plug in the page number and jump to exactly where. So it's these little red numbers here. So we're on page 67 of the actual text. I mean the hard copy books. Just click here and enter that. Should jump us right here. Yeah, love that. All right, so last time we finished up with, well, first let me jump up here. So where we are is in volume 1, we're on question 2. What are the origin, goal, purpose, and plan of the soul? And so this is going over the purpose of the soul, breaking down across all the rays. And so we're on ray 3, the purpose of the third ray. Through deity's purpose in creating the third ray, or what it expresses and the powers that it evokes on this ray type. So there's this little small part of the last section that feeds into this. So I'll start here. Where am I? I think they're good. All right. The third ray, which is one that has a very long cycle, having been in manifestation since AD 1425, has a direct effect upon the fifth root race, the Aryan, and has connected with it a set of curious phrases which expresses its purpose. And that's in the section down below where it goes over the 6 phrases of the brothers. So the brother rays, the 7 rays total. So it gives these phrases as like allegories of stories of how the other rays interpret or see the energy of that ray, and also the names of the rays, which gives a list of different rays that are commonly different names that commonly refer to that ray, to kind of give the student something to study, to understand the energy a little better based on all the different ways that this name has been bear with me, I'm going to be inverting words, it looks like already, the different names that have been assigned to this ray type. And that's just 3 different ways of explaining the purpose of deity, by explaining the name, the naming agents, the qualities, and these phrases. All right, so continuing on. And it's that way for each of them. You might remember if you saw some of the other videos. Whistle. All right. Ray 3 is the ray of active intelligence or adaptability. And this is pretty rich, this little first section here. So I'm already queued up with some things to explain this, because I had to really pause at different points to tackle this, because there's a lot here. So starting here, ray 3 is the ray of active intelligence or adaptability. And if we remember our little ray chart, whereas I think I put it all the way at the end. So these are the first 3 rays of aspect. So we're rounding out the end of these first 3 rays, the rays of aspect, which are the primary rays that kind of call forth the energy of the Trinity. The Father aspect, the Son aspect, the Mother aspect. The Father spirit combines with the Mother to create the Son, and the Mother matter, Ma, and that creates the Son energy. So the blending of those, which also is the incarnate energy of form. So the third ray is the mathematical exact activity that creates the manifestation, the divine feminine aspect of understanding. And it's not just feminine, I point to myself, but it's within male or female, that masculine and feminine nature. The masculine, the father aspect, is the one that puts forth the desire, that puts forth the effort and the energy, which is then received by the feminine aspect, the mother aspect, and then put into a specific form of actions and activities that are known through reason. Right here, it talks about understanding the active implementation of inclusive reason that you know these steps are going to generate this effect, cause and effect, karma, cause and effect, a direct line of action resulting in an end outcome, which is the manifestation of whatever form we're trying to create. And in this case, that's the sun. So that's the Trinity. And again, we're wrapping up these first three rays of aspect for the purpose of why deity expresses in these first three primary rays, and then going into these rays of attribute, which again, it says all seven are equal. There's no lesser or greater. But these three actually are just known as the primary that make up just the foundation of all energy that is expressed, because it represents that Trinity. The one becomes the three, becomes the seven, becomes the many more, right? Okay, jumping back over here to our text. So it says, let the warden of the south continue with the building. Let him apply the force which will produce the shining, living stone that fits into the temple's plan with right exactitude. Let him prepare the cornerstone and wisely place it in the north, under the eye of God himself, and subject to the balance of the triangle. So this is heavy coat, right? So this is written like in that text that's on the tablets and ancient teachings and things like that. So I was like, start from the beginning, break this down. What's the warden of the south? And it's funny, when I first looked this up, I didn't watch Game of Thrones, so I know it's a really popular show. I get all these Game of Thrones, so apparently, and that's kind of common. We see in shows that they put together sprinkles of truth and or references to actual esoteric or occult, hidden, unknown, not on the forefront of knowledge, not mainstream, means it's occult. They put some of those teachings in those shows, hidden in plain sight, right? So the Warden of the South. So this is actually a lot of examples came up from Game of Thrones. And so I was like, no, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for this. So we go over here. I found a spiritual interpretation of the officers of the lodge. So this is the Masonic website. Okay, so this is talking, and then of course, Alice Bailey and Blavatsky and all of them, and the Theosophical Society, they took together, they combined all of the teachings, all the ancient teachings and the wisdoms. And so, yes, there's wisdom in the Masonic teachings, there's wisdom in Christianity, there's wisdom in Eastern philosophy, all of that stuff. So it's combined to figure out a system that works, and a system that we can follow, that we can embody, that we can enact and apply the wisdom so that we can rise and live in our elevated conscious state. So this one, again, is from a Masonic Lodge kind of article from the educator.ca. And this isn't the very top, but this is where it describes this Warden of the South kind of explanation that helped me to get a better understanding. So it describes the junior warden. The junior warden is stationed in the south, midway between the regions of dawn and the setting sun. So again, we're seeing like the symbolism of day and night, the rising of the sun, that kind of energy, that kind of depiction. So I was like, okay, this seems more in line with what we're talking about here. Maybe what Game of Thrones is kind of touching on, but that wasn't the definition we were looking for. So midway between the regions of dawn and the setting sun, and represents the mind. So the junior warden, the warden of the south, represents the mind or intelligence of the soul, which really goes in line with what we're learning here about this ray, because it's the ray of active intelligence and adaptability, right? The mother aspect, which puts into exact activity that which is needed in order to produce the physical outcome, the form, the sun. So Let's just read it all the way through. The junior warden is stationed in the south, midway between the regions of dawn and the setting sun, and represents the mind or intelligence of the soul, and therefore is, as a warden of the soul, appointed to prove his brethren Masons, and to test all strangers claiming to be such and seeking entrance. His badge, the plum rule, is the emblem of the upright soul. His column has ascending sides of fluted beauty breaking into leafage and tendrils of wisdom. The teaching of this symbolic office being when the sun disappears and the lodge is closed, he raises his column as a sign that during the hours of darkness, rectitude and wisdom shall prevail in all outward ways. So the rectitude, just really quick. Wait. Geez, Louise. I was trying to get the definition of pop real quick. Rectitude, define, which I like working on the computer too, because it's a lot faster than looking up on my phone. Rectitude is morally correct behavior or thinking, righteousness. So positioned, the mind, the intelligence of the soul is positioned between the dawn and the setting sun. And when the sun goes down and disappears, there's darkness, right? We are rest in darkness. So just like when the light, the sun, the light, the wisdom, the teachings, the son of the Christed one, our Christ consciousness, when it's dark, that's when, things creep about in the dark that aren't righteous. So this warden of the South holds this post to raise the column as a sign that even in the darkness, rectitude, righteousness, and like moral values, or let's pull it up again so I'm not guessing at it. Morally correct behavior and thinking and wisdom, active intelligence will prevail in all outward ways, even in the darkness. Okay, so that was a long way. Hope you're still with me. Hope that was helpful. So that's just all that already from this first sentence of this section, right? Let the warden of the South continue with the building. Okay, so the warden of the South is continuing with the building. What are we building? He's going to apply the force which will produce the shining living stone that fits into the temple's plan with right exactitude. Right away when we start going into the stone talk, that's common in esoteric teachings. We're talking about the philosopher's stone, and that equates to a pineal gland. And so let me back up here. I had another reference. I'll leave that up on the side here as a reference here. So the warden is continuing with the building. The building is the work, right? So what is the warden building upon? The wisdom of the soul, the intelligence of the soul is applying force, which will produce the shining living stone. And what do we know as another reference of what happens with a stone that's being having force applied to it until it shines? It's like the diamond, right? So the diamond is this like physical representation of what we're talking about here. So there's force applied upon the stone that produces the shining living stone that fits into the temple's plan. The temple, the Christ temple, I'll say the temple of God is within us. So within our bodies, there's this stone. The stone is in our pineal gland. We know that it's a dormant eye, the third eye, the pineal gland, that allows us to, it's the seat of the soul, our intuition, that which connects us to everything that's beyond this physicality, right? So that's what we're trying to unlock and uncover. You'll learn that there's all these people trying to wake up their third eye and whatnot, because in this plane we have it very calcified. You'll hear about the calcification of the third eye, the pineal gland, through various things, which could be just the inactivity of not using it, not sitting down and quieting the mind and seeing with our inner eye, through meditation. I'm guilty of that. Through fluorides in toothpaste and things like that. All these controversies about, doctors say you use a fluoride toothpaste, and other people say, well, that's calcifying our third eye. Also, a lot of these toxins and pollutants that are just in your basic drinking waters. That's why we mix in or drink clean water or purified water or alkaline water or different things to slowly ease off the calcification of our third eye so that that pineal gland can become active and awakened, which was what it naturally was. And over time, that light was dimmed. So through this pressure and this force of divine intelligence, we are activating and waking it back up through these exercises of learning and seeking truth. And so again, the Warden of the South is working on building. They're applying the force which will produce the shining living stone that fits into the temple's plan, the temple's plan with right exactitude. And let him prepare the cornerstones. And then we're talking more so like triangles. We have the triangle, we'd have the cornerstone. Again, we have the stone, the living stone, the shining living stone, living fit into the temple and the body, right? And we're preparing that cornerstone wisely to place it in the north under the eye of God himself, subject to the balance of the triangle. So there's a lot more there. Where did I want to start? I got a lot of little side pieces. What am I talking about? I'm so sleepy. It's kind of late. That's why I'm whispering too. I hope the audio is good on this. I'm using a different computer than normal. Thank you for watching. Bear with me. So let's start with, I think I have it kind of in order here, a little bit of the talk from Seven Bomar on the incorruptible stone. So this, I'm going to jump over to that really quickly. Let's sound on for that video. There we go.
And that has to be addressed. That's what a man and a woman does. They address when something is not happening, they go into it deeper. And so that's what I did. That's what I did first. So in digging into that, I discovered that we are smack dab in the middle of a Jehovian Saturnalian conflict. And the power behind and in the middle of both of these sources is so magnificent within itself that we are literally being compressed like diamonds with our experience. And then our experience is taking us either into one frame of mind or another. And so what we find is that we find people that are gravitating to a particular state of mind, and then that's even reflecting in the dimension and causing the dimension to crumble. And so thus, in this state, there are many that have waken up. And so the waking up process that's taking place here on the dimension that everyone is experiencing is because the language in their mind, the primary language on the dimension, which is called a language of light, is actually unraveling. Because what was literally going on is that the language itself was a light code to begin to program light beings from beings that know how to create other entities and essences through light, and shining them through crystals to extract their essence, and then animating their essence in fleshly beings or triangles, which are only 180 degrees. Because it's one piece missing to make something complete, to make it on the third dimension. So there's one triangle, and then another triangle is added that signifies the spirit, and then that creates the animated being.
Whoa. Okay, so what is all that? I am going to link that talk. That is, again, a podcast on Esoteric Radio from back in 2011, an amazing series that Seven did, giving all this information. Back again in 2011. He's been at this for so long. I hadn't heard that one until just today when I was kind of researching, trying to dive into examples of the stone that we're referring to in this section. And it just went perfectly with this. So I wanted to back up because then he brought into some other things. So really quickly, I'm going to go back. One of these things that I really love too is that YouTube now has this ability to show the transcription on here. And for some videos, if it has the closed captioning, it should have a transcript function. And that feature you can get by doing this ellipsis and then going to show transcript, and it'll open this up. And then you can even do a control find and then search within the text to jump to a certain word or thing that you're looking for within that video. And that's really helpful for research purposes and things like that, I've found. So going back to where he started really quick here. So he's saying that the job of a man and a woman is to address when something's not happening, to go deeper, to dive deeper into something, to understand it. And so that's what metaphysics is. It's going into the study of the first causes, the origin of things, understanding how we work and how we got here, and then uncovering, basically how to function better at our full capacity. That saying we use only 10% of our brains, but we're going to try to move towards 30 and then 50 and 90 until 100%. And what happens when we are more full of ourselves, and what that brings us is to the teachings, the ancient teachings, and learning that we were actually blocked off in a part of ourselves. Part of ourselves was blocked off, and that is part of this whole triangle, stone, all of these teachings about what he's talking about here. So he's saying we're in the middle of we're smack dab in the middle of a Jehovian and Saturnalian conflict. Jehovian, where do we hear that? Jehovah. So that's the religious, the devout, the light. And then we have Saturnalian, Saturn. Saturn, we look at the planet, say Daddy Saturn, it's the paternal aspect, it's this father energy that really restricts, and it causes all of this it holds back, and you go through these Saturn cycles of they say, like, when you have your Saturn return at 30 years, you basically have to deal with the 30 years of unpacking the karmic debt in order to learn the lessons of adulthood. It's like a rite of passage as your Saturn return. And also a level of that is because Saturn is that authoritarian energy. Saturn, due to the etymology of it, the word, it goes back to, they say, Satan, Saturn, Santa, all that stuff, the little word things, it's wild. But that Saturn energy is the Satan, the serpent energy of basically, so you're looking at your dark and your light, you're this and that, the path of having, access to that Father God energy, and then that Jehovah path of being pure and observing the Father and witnessing that power, but not partaking in it. And then the Saturnian serpent, which is like the temptation of the apple, Adam and Eve, or the I was just reading something else. It was there's a lot of examples in that of basically that taking that step into wanting more knowledge or wanting more access to creation, to that creation, the capacity to create, which is that God energy. So once we activate that, or have activated that, or once others have activated that in this dimension, they took part in that drama, playing out that God energy and that control, that life force. And it's a great responsibility. So with great power comes great responsibility. And then we've seen a tilting of the scales, because there's those who are practicing and those who are not practicing, and those who are in the know and those who are not in the know. And it becomes this imbalance, and it becomes a struggle. It becomes a power over a dominance. And that Saturnalian conflict that he's talking about is creating this massive power behind both of these sources, he's saying. So in that Jehovah energy and that Saturnalian energy, there's great power, and that conflict that's playing out right now, and saying, only I can do this, or you should not be able to have this power, or I should be able to have as much power as you, and I would want to assert that over you and everyone else while I'm at it. That's just like this great battle, right? This light and dark drama playing out. But while that's happening, he's saying that that power is so huge and magnificent that we're being compressed like diamonds with our experience of life. So our living has now become a pressurization, a pushing of us upon within this energy of this drama of pick a side, pick a side. Are you light? Are you dark? Are you good? Or are you evil? What is it going to be? And so that pressure, like diamonds, our experience of just living is in this, within this realm where it's this Jehovian and Saturnian conflict, is compressing us like diamonds. And our experience is taking us into either one frame of mind or another. So people are gravitating, it says, to one particular state of mind, and it's reflecting in the dimension. It's causing the dimension to crumble. So we have this Saturnalian, this serpent energy of, I want more knowledge, I want more control, I want to see into this, I want to push the limits and the boundaries that Aleister Crowley, anything goes, do as thou wilt, Satanism, all that stuff is being pushed to this extreme and pumping out that energy, that Hollywood energy, that it's basically causing, there's this instability. We're very unstable. And so we're trying to pick back up with consciousness on the rise to make it equal. We're trying to balance out the scales right now, Ma'at energy. So here he says, in this state of all that pressure and that crumbling, it's caused many to awaken. So as we have half of the story sitting in, reverence and respect and honor and doing the right thing and not partaking, not cheating the system, not trying to tip the scales in our favor, just observing and basically, asleep within the dream, thinking that, what we've heard to be conspiracies or whatever it may be. We're thinking, no, none of that's true. Everything is working, that things are designed to work in my favor. I'm not a victim of any kind of nefarious activities of anybody. Nobody's kind of behind the scenes pulling strings that are doing anything to harm me, right? And so we live in that kind of state for so long until the pressurization of the imbalance, where it's so in your face now, you have to kind of question things when you're like, oh, why are there like, okay, so pretend this is a bottle of shampoo. So in 2022, we now have bottles of shampoo or any product that you could see that has like a list of things that are no longer ingredients contained in that product anymore, right? So it'll say no phthalates, no sulfates, no parabens, no blah 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 blah. No, because it's all pure now, and then we're trying to prove it. We want to show you that we've removed all these chemicals, and then it makes you think, okay, well, why are those chemicals being taken out? Because, they're leading to hormonal imbalances in women and throwing off your stability, or in men. And when you have parabens, it affects your psyche and affects your hormones to where, men are developing different mentalities that cause them to move towards their feminine, have a feminine imbalance of estrogen and levels of things like that, or same thing in women having hyper estrogen levels, and then it's throwing off your hormones and things like that. Okay, so we should lose the parabens. And there's like 3 different kinds of parabens, and we see that in the old bottles and packagings, and even in pills, like old capsules of like medications had parabens in them. And so now we're seeing that the products will show, hey, look, we've got this clean product now. We don't have the parabens in here, or this whole host of other things. And so you kind of got to look into those things and see what they are. And it's in your fruit, in your food. It's like no high fructose corn syrup. But in the beginning, where we were learning about it, there was this whole commercial campaign. I remember it came out like, high fructose corn syrup is really not that bad, guys. It's actually good for you. And it was this video that was made actually dedicated to trying to convince people that high fructose corn syrup wasn't all that bad. But really, we learned that it's got carcinogens and the ability to do yada, yada, yada. It's not good for you. So now you got people moving away from that. Same thing with cholesterol. There was a push away from that. But now people have forgot. And now you go back to Starbucks and you get one of those breakfast sandwiches and it's got like 1,200 milligrams or whatever of cholesterol. But that's neither here nor there. The focus is on the items. So we have this unveiling happening as part of our experience, where we're recognizing things like that make us question. Or now they have the Prop 65, another example, Prop 65 warning labels that are put on everything. So now we have it on our glasses, we have it on different products that you'll look at in the store when you're shopping. You can get a shower curtain and it has a Prop 65 warning on there that it could cause birth defects or brain damage and things like that. And you're like, oh my gosh, so this isn't everything, right? And now the solution is for these people who've put these things and these chemicals in these products and were in the know that it was happening because, like the hormone imbalance is going to lead way to its own agenda and mixing up the masculine and feminine archetypes and throwing us off kilter and what those roles and what our abilities are and how we feel in our bodies and do we feel like we're in the right bodies, and we're seeing a huge rise in that whole dichotomy playing out. And could it be related to some of the chemicals that have been pumped into the system? We have to think of that now that we've been presented with the fact that these things have been extracted, because they do influence us in ways that we were not aware when we were asleep to them. So we've now awakened to certain things, and the way that the system's trying to balance itself out is to say, oh no, we're telling you about it, so now it's your choice on what you take into your body. If you get that label and you still hang that shower curtain and you have issues conceiving down the line, then that's your choice, right? But then we say, but how long were we dealing with products that had these things in them before you passed the law that said you had to put it on the label, right? How long did it take before they had to put the skull and bones on the cigarette packets to say that they were lethal before, and it's too late. It's already out there in the system, and people are massively addicted or massively infected or affected and impacted. So anyways, we see that through this thinning of the veil and this crumbling of society, we realize that there are things that are around us that are not to our benefit. So they were to benefit something else, some other agenda, some other purpose, even if that purpose is simply sheer recklessness and disregard for our life and our well-being. That's an agenda enough to wake us up to say, hey, we need to pay closer attention to the things that we're consuming and that we're taking in, or the people that we're trusting to put together the products and the services that we're taking in. Who are we listening to? Who are we shopping with? What products are we buying? Am I going to get the shampoo that has this? Am I going to get the toothpaste that has the fluoride? Or am I going to get the yada, yada, yada? The deodorant that has the aluminum in it? You'll see the deodorants with a whole list of things too that it no longer has in it. Parabens was one of it too, putting it in there close to the glands that absorbs that into the bloodstream, causing all these kinds of impacts. And you've got major high-level intelligent scientists and people working behind the scenes for years, knowing what they're doing, putting this into these products or not. Whether it's recklessness or intentional, it's still there. And we're starting to see that veil thinning out so that we can see some of these things. And it stretches to so many factors. It could be like the automobile industry, the cell phone industry, with planned obsolescence of a cell phone that is going to be planned to go bad in 2 years or 1 year. And that's a conscious decision of the manufacturer so that you can buy the next one. Is that for our interest, or is it serving another interest? So we're starting to see that serpent, that knowledge, because we ate the apple, so we're waking up. But a lot of us ate the apple and then went and hid, because we wanted to go back to that state of innocence. And that Jehovah, what does he say? That Jehovian mindset that says, I'm sorry and I'm a sinner and I shouldn't have done that. That's not really getting us anywhere. So what we have to do is we have to embody that Jehovah energy to balance out against the Saturnalian energy that's in full force right now, right? If you choose that side. So the waking up process is happening all around the dimension. And the last thing that he says here, he mentions about the language, and he has some really good work. That's where he started off and launched everything, was with giving away a free book that have some really powerful information on how he decoded language and how he understands that the source of language and etymology of words and things like that, or how this construct is kind of controlled, or how it was in the very beginning. I still need to get that and read that, but he's going into that here about how the language itself was a light code that was begun to program. And there's references in the Bible, and they talk about Babel and go down and give them words to confuse them, things like that. So the language, we know that it controls our experience. You have that I forget what that term is in psychology or sociology, where it's about words and there's different words that make up a language shape the way that the people experience life, right? So we don't know as much about snow as a person in Alaska might. And in their language, they have like 5 or 10 different words for snow because they're so in touch with it and in tune with it that they can see the gradients of it. And it's a very different thing for them. They know all these different things about it because it's just a part of their reality because it's built into their language. Whereas we don't live in that kind of climate, so it's not of use to us. So they've given us different pieces of the language and it shapes our reality in that simple way, but also in a big quantum way in terms of where did we even get our language in the first place? Where are we getting these words? What do we really know about them? And if we chase it back to like the mother tongue and the mother language, what's been shifted, what's been changed? And through Seven's work, you find out that quite a bit has been shifted and changed over the years. And what we've been left with is something that's not as rich as its original fruit. And learning that, he shows, is a way to understand what the entities that use this light coding of language in order to control, because we know everything is about sound and vibration and energy. So words is literally sound and vibration, and it's either light or dark. You can cast spells or you can write cursing curses. It's all in there. But we're either asleep to it or awake to it, and people are waking up through the pressurization of this reality where we're starting to have to ask questions. And through this ray, active intelligence, we're starting to put the pieces together so that we can understand how we can sit in the seat of the creator and manifest what we want to create and not keep playing out a drama that's pushing us towards ends that we aren't consciously aware of. So he says in this last part that these beings who knew about the language and these entities were using it to shine through crystals. And we have this crystal in us that's now dormant, right? Our pineal gland, we have a crystal, this diamond inside of us. And others are light bodies and our energy. We find out when we get into all that physics and quantum physics and stuff we're made of. We have, our bodies are little energetic centers, and we have crystalline essence to us and all of these things that can be used, it says, by certain energies to harvest or extract that essence and then animate into fleshly beings or triangles. Then we have this mention of triangles again. And the triangle that he mentions here, the only thing I want to touch on there's a lot here, it says that the triangles are only 180 degrees because it's one piece missing to make something complete. And okay, let's say it. Let's actually play this because this is amazing. Let's go here. Yeah. Let's play that.
Lights to shining them through crystals to extract their essence, and then animating their essence in fleshly beings or triangles, which are only 180 degrees because it's one piece missing to make something complete, to make it on the third dimension. So there's one triangle, and then another triangle is added that signifies the spirit, and then that creates the animated being. So there's been...
All right, I kind of botched that, but let me go back to okay, I'm really scared that the sound wasn't working for me to be heard through that. I'm gonna pause this video, see where we're at, and see how much I need to like recap if I did do that. Because I mean, I've been gone for a minute, but there was a video that I had recorded at one point and I didn't have the mic was muted somehow throughout the whole thing. And at the end, I was just like, all right, I guess that was just for me. So I'm just gonna keep quiet until I have something to share. But for this one, I'm gonna pause this video and come back after I see if, that was actually recording or not.